Hello again, and what is hip? And welcome to a first for the channel. I decided that it would be kind of interesting to make a video talking about video game hunting in New York City and to show you guys my adventures in regards to looking for video games. And I've enjoyed watching these videos for many years. I used to watch Luke Morse 1, if any of you guys know who he was. He lives in Japan, and he would record a bunch of videos of him going to different video game stores in Japan. And it was just really fascinating to see what it was like exploring for video games in Japan and just looking around the city. So I thought it would be kind of fun to do that with the city of New York and what it's like to look for video games here. And it's definitely harder than most other places I've been. The selection of stores is not numerous. However, there are several, and today I thought it would be fun to visit one of them, and probably the most famous one, if not the most famous, and one of the most famous ones in New York City, and that is Video Games New York. So let's jump right into it. I got my laptop here, and I will narrate and watch this along with you guys. So here we go. Alright, so here I am putting my backpack on, getting ready to leave my room here, my apartment, and I'm walking down the flights of stairs. I live on a 4-story walk up, and I'm on the 4th floor, so it sucks. There's no elevator, and so here's me running down the stairs, and here we are. This is the street of one of the major subway stops, and well, it's not 92 degrees. It's much colder than that. And here's the street here. This is a commute I make quite often, almost every day, heading to school and whatnot. And right over there, you will see Oregano. That is the street cat who lives here, and you see her every once in a while. So here's the subway station, and this is what I do almost every single day. You swipe that Metro card right there, you get on in, and this is the best way to commute in New York City. The subway system is slow, but it is the best way to travel. And when there aren't delays, it's actually pretty fast. And what a lot of people don't realize is Manhattan is very big. There's roughly 8 million people, I think, living in the city of New York. And Manhattan definitely has the most amount of people living in the smallest amount of space. So after that train ride, we got to Times Square. This is the Times Square train station, and we needed to transfer to the N train to get to our destination. And as you can see, a lot of people. This was relatively late at night. It was about 8 o'clock. I think it was on a Friday here. And so after that, here's the area of Video Games New York. It's downtown in East Village, and as you can see here, the nightlife is bustling. So many different things to do. Lots of people out, lots of bars, lots of restaurants. Very expensive down here. I live up way far away. I live at the very tip top of Manhattan, so it's about an hour trek to get here on the train, on the subway. So here we go, we finally arrived. This is Video Games New York, and right here's the very front of the store, and you can see their consoles and all of that. And here's their DS games. You can see got Kirby Planet Robobot. They actually got a lot of sealed 3DS games here. And here is the PlayStation 3 games, the ones that are of more value. And yeah, definitely cool 3DS section there. They got a bunch of DS consoles. Their prices are a little bit on the higher side for some of these consoles. Got Code of Princess there, which is a game I want very badly, but it's a bit expensive. Here is my favorite section, the Sega section. We got the Sega Dreamcast, and we got the Sega Saturn. And I have a whole bunch of imports as well, which was really cool to see. And a lot of these imports were on the more expensive side. However, some of the cheaper ones were actually pretty reasonably priced. Here's the PlayStation 2 section, and the Xbox, the original Xbox here. And here are some of their more expensive import Famicom games, Super Famicom, the Microvision, which was very cool to see. That was the first handheld with interchangeable cartridges. Got a Virtual Boy there. All of this was very expensive. In this case, it was definitely on the pricier side. There were some reasonably priced things, and this is their like little museum section. So they got a whole bunch of autographs. You can see there, you got autograph by Miyamoto. Here's their Super Nintendo section here, all the boxed stuff. They got some repros and some homebrews, which is really cool to see. And here is the loose Super Nintendo section and the NES section. A lot of variety. I was quite surprised. If you can't tell, this is a very, very tight space. I had a backpack on, and the backpack was relatively empty, and it was bumping into walls and everything. There's a Neo Geo CD. I just bought one of those. Theirs was really expensive. Really overpriced for that. Unless it was the American version, but I couldn't tell. So yeah, some more imports there. They had the Game Boy, original Game Boy games. Some of those were actually pretty decently priced. You got a pretty decently sized Game Gear section. I don't see Game Gear sections that numerous. Got some Intellivisions down there. I love the Intellivision. And they got a bunch of import Neo Geo MVS games. Which was really cool to see, and some of them were actually pretty decently priced. I don't have an AES or an MVS, so I can't play those, but a huge Game Boy selection there. And here is their Genesis selection here. As you can see, there is a ton of Genesis games, a lot of loose games as well, and a little 32X hiding up there. Here's the Wii and Wii U section here. Very big and reasonably priced. A lot of reasonably priced games in this section. The Wii U games here, there wasn't anything too outstanding in there. Always looking for some of those. But a huge Wii selection with some pretty decent titles at reasonable prices. So at the back, this was the star of the show. The back is where they keep their cheaper stuff, and they have a whole bunch of imports. Super Famicom, NES, Super Nintendo, Atari 2600, PlayStation 1, 2, 3, Xbox 360, and all of that fun stuff. And here at the end of the night, my roommate and I went to a bar to get some drinks of water. No, just kidding. I got a nice Guinness here, and that was a very fun way to end the night. So that is that. Let's fast forward to my pickups and some of my thoughts about Video Games New York. Okay, and here we are. So yeah, that was my trip to Video Games New York. I tried to confine it all as much as I could since I had a whole bunch of footage and I didn't want to keep you guys there too long. But yeah, as you can see, Video Games New York there was actually a lot of stuff there. They had a very big selection for the space that they were confined in. It was very, very tight, and it was literally walls and walls of games from floor to ceiling, and then underneath the shelves they would have little plastic containers of some of the cheaper $15 and under games. Just a whole bunch of containers of those to sort through, and I didn't have a whole bunch of time that day, so I wasn't able to look as thoroughly as I wanted. But they had something for everyone, for the most part. Not Neo Geo CD owners, though. I asked if they had any Neo Geo CD games, since I just bought one. Check out that video of mine I just posted last week. But they didn't have any of those, unfortunately. But one of the things I was most impressed with was their selection of imports. A lot of the imports were on the pricier side. However, there were, every once in a while, you'd find one that was a relatively reasonable deal, and the Sega Saturn import collection was huge, and I did not have enough time to look through all of that. So the next time I'm there, I definitely will be. But something else that's really cool about Video Games New York is they are a dealer of some like reproductions and homebrews for games. They sell games and stuff that are brand new, games that are brand new, made for old systems, like the Dreamcast and the I think the Neo Geo CD when they get them in stock. I could be wrong, and Genesis and a whole bunch of other systems as well. But they had a huge selection of brand new Dreamcast games that were not officially licensed by Sega, but brand new games that were just released for the Dreamcast. So that was really nice to see, and that is a really good way to pick those up and avoid shipping from ordering directly from the manufacturer and distributor and publisher and all of that. So that was really cool to see. But overall, the store was not the worst priced things I've seen, but there were definitely a lot of things that were on the higher end. However, where this place really shined was their games that were under $20. I've noticed a lot of those games were very, very well priced and very reasonably priced. Some of them were even great deals, in fact. The back of the store that I showed you at the end of the video with all the PS1, 2, 3, 360 games and the loose Genesis and all of that, that's where all the cheaper stuff was, and there were so many great deals to be had. And that's actually where I did all of my pickups, except for one. I didn't spend too much money here today since I just recently bought that Neo Geo CD I had mentioned earlier. But I did pick out several games, and I'll definitely be returning because there were some really reasonable deals to be had. The workers there were very nice as well, and there was just so much and such a small amount of space that I didn't have the time to look at everything while I was there. So let's get into the pickups here. We'll start with this one here. I got myself Knight's Journey of Dreams, and some of you may be wondering why I would get this game. It was not reviewed very well. However, I have a lot of memories playing this as a kid. I played it quite frequently, actually, and I had a lot of fun. But nostalgia can be blinding. So, I decided I should get this again, take a little look back and see if it still holds up. And I think I'm going to do a more in-depth video of this later, but I gotta say that the music is phenomenal. I mean, it's really, really great. It fits the persona of Knights and all that is that series, and it's really great. I think it's even fully orchestrated too, or at least most of it is. And the gameplay, when there's not platforming involved, is really good. When you're playing and controlling Knights, it's a lot of fun. Very similar to the Sega Saturn days. And the art direction is really great as well. There are a lot of performance issues though, that I definitely noticed when playing this again. However, if you look past that and you look past the clunkiness of the platforming, it's actually a really solid game. And I think it's one that everybody should give a chance, at least for a cheap price. And this is a cheap game. You can get it for about $10 usually. So the next game here is one that I've wanted to play for a very long time, and this is Child of Eden. And this game is a spiritual successor to a little-known Dreamcast game by the name of Rez. And what Rez was, it was a on-rails shooter of sorts where you controlled a being and a cursor and you would just shoot things, and it was super stylized. It went along with music, and the music would change when you did things, and it was just a super stylized shooter of sorts. And that's what this game is as well. And a lot of people are put off by this game because of the Kinect feature, but you don't need Kinect to play this game. And I actually first found out about this game from Pete Dorr many years ago on one of his videos. And I don't know if this game was reviewed very well, but he actually enjoyed it from what I can remember, if I'm remembering correctly. And so this is a very cheap game. I got this for $5 at this store. It usually goes for about $7 or so. And I thought I'd give it a try. And I popped it into my Series X, and I was blown away with all the colors immediately. I mean, if you have an HDR capable television, this game is going to be popping off your screen. It is beautiful. And This game is basically about a girl who was born in space in 2019, I know, and she was born, never got to see Earth. She always dreamed of Earth. She died, and I guess they uploaded her intelligence or something into an AI thing, and the internet is known as Eden, I guess, in the future. And what they did was they tried to recreate the girl who died, her being in this Eden internet kind of landscape, and they did that. And the game is about, I guess, Eden being infected or something, and you have to help the girl who had her intelligence uploaded. It's kind of weird, but very kind of creepy intro too to this game. But it's hard. I died on the first level, but the art direction is beautiful. The gameplay so far seems to be okay. It's not blowing me away, but it is fun enough to keep me engaged, to at least, you know, keep on going for the next little while. But it's a very, very cheap game. The music is great, the art is amazing, and it's kind of hard. I'm curious to see how this would run with the Kinect, if it's any easier, or if it's any better, or what. But yeah, it's, you know, for $5, I think it's an absolute, it's a necessary pickup, for sure. I think there's a decent amount of fun to be had for $5. And if not, you know, if anything, it's a great screensaver for your TV. Really, really beautiful game. And this last one is the one I am most excited for. This is a game I've been looking for forever, and I haven't picked it up, not because it's a rare, but because it's always just a little more expensive than I want to pay. But I finally found it for $10, which is a great deal for this game. It usually goes for about 15 to 20. And that is Sonic Generations for the Xbox 360, and I've wanted this for so long. It's actually one of the main reasons why I bought a Series X. It's because of the backwards compatibility. This is backwards compatible with the Series X, and so it upgrades it to 4K, and I think it helps the frame rate possibly a little bit. And Sonic Generations I had on the PC growing up, and I had so much fun playing this game. I didn't get very far, but I wanted to revisit this game with my older self and my older mind and beat it. And I haven't played this in years, so I popped this into my Series X, and immediately I was blown away with how good this game still looks. I mean, it looks amazing at 4K, and it's really, really beautiful, and the gameplay is so much fun. I mean, this game really holds up so incredibly well, and to this day, I think this is probably the best Sonic game they've made in many, many years. I think it's the last really, really great Sonic game. With 3D Sonic, Sonic Mania, I think, is just as good as this in many ways. But with 3D Sonic, I think this is probably the last great one. But a really, really great game. It's cheap, under $20 if you have a Series X. Absolute must pick up because it looks amazing, it plays amazing, and it sounds amazing too. The score in this game is such a blast from the past, so much fan service. The rearrangements of certain tracks in here are so incredibly good, and it's just really fun to play as classic Sonic in a 3D space. So there you have it. That was my trip to Video Games New York and my little pickups here. It's definitely a different kind of video. I'm not used to making these kind of vlog style videos, so let me know what you guys thought. Do you want to see some more of these kind of exploring New York City videos? There's definitely some other video game stores I can visit in the city, and I can maybe do a more in-depth visit to Video Games New York. But let me know in the comments if you like this. Have you been to Video Games New York? Have you been to New York City? Have you been game hunting here? Let me know in the comments down below. But thank you guys so much for sticking through this and watching. Have a good one.